Good. Afternoon all, I'm David Brereton from Levenco. We're an M&E fire and comms contractor. We work in rail, we've been around for 20 odd years. We do other things like power, but predominantly in rail. We've done some big schemes recently, Northern Line Extension, we're on Gatwick Station. They're on IP Central, which is Euston, the old Euston station, and we're with Major Gradus over on the HS2 station as well. So we're always involved with rail, done cross rail. You know that we've been in the business for a long while. So this is obviously our first bit of question and answer panel. I've got some esteemed colleagues who are going to join me on the stage. So if we have Richard Lowe, please, from PSP, Head of Planning. Simon Morgan, he's no introduction, we've seen him before. And Jeff Davies, obviously, we've met before, please sit with and Mr. Chris Raven, please. So we've got some hard questions, so we're going to grill the panels and see what we can get out of them. But guys, thanks for agreeing to this and sitting down and giving me a penny for it. First question for you. Rail is very, very difficult at the moment for tier ones and indeed tier twos, where we are suffering. In fact, a lot of us have, in fact, the whole market's very tight. Rail particularly is stuck with affordability issues, lack of decisions, and when decisions are made, they're slow to award. Do the panel feel this situation will change anytime soon? And what can we expect from the rail industry in the near future to support construction? Simon.
Okay, well, I thought I knew the answer to this, but I consulted Phil Bennett, who's a commercial director in Route Services, and I think actually it's just as well if I read his response, which is what I thought really. So he says, often a slowdown in decisions at the end of the control period cause that ramp down. We try to minimise and improve this, but it can still occur. The end of CP6 has been and is more difficult, and that's because of COVID and trade union action and things like that, and unexpected inflation, which have led to limited manoeuvring room for our procurement teams. Whilst we try to manage the impact, we do understand how difficult it is if we de-scoped or deferred work, but we really had no choice, but we didn't do it lightly, and we apologise for that. As we enter CP7, we should improve. We will improve. And most of the main delivery arrangements for CP7, as you heard from Jeff, are in place or will be coming in the next few months. And that will provide a great platform for the future and for stability and for decision making. So I'm really confident that that won't occur again. One sort of future blot on the horizon is the fact that at the minute we haven't really heard about enhancements through CP7. I don't know if you want to say a bit more about that, Jeff.
Is this working? Yeah, enhancements is a tricky one because you've got the backdrop of HS2 funding. There's only so much money the government can spend on transport, and they've got to balance that across all the different competing departments. And I did have the privilege, maybe that's not the right word, but the time with the FT in my past life, and spent a bit of time working with the Treasury. And it's not until you deal with characters in the Treasury that you get a bit of empathy for the pressure they're under, because every department makes a case for why their department needs the funding. And it's difficult with a backdrop of schools needing funding, NHS needing funding, to demonstrate why rail should come up higher up the pecking order. I think the fact that we managed to secure a determination greater than the last 5 years is a vote for confidence, as I said earlier. So it's not all doom and gloom. we've got an investment in HS2, which is astronomical numbers if you look at them, and we've got probably about £10 billion worth of enhancements on the go as well. So it's just about trying to balance those priorities across a backdrop, which is it's a difficult economic circumstances at the moment. So.
Okay, thanks for that, guys. Good answers there. We move on to question 2. Chris, I'm going to give this one to you. Chris is heavily involved in HS2 at the moment. It's probably the biggest rail project on the books at the moment. Chris, I mean, we've seen in the local papers or the national papers that HS2 Euston is likely to be scrapped, and Over Common would take its place as the new London terminus. We've also got the other potential news that won't go beyond Birmingham. What do you think will happen in the future? And if Labour does get in the next government, I understand the Network Rail guys can't particularly answer this question, but if the Labour government does get in, will it be good or bad for HS2?
Very interesting question. I can't answer about the Labour government, I don't think, but I'd like to think that, like all of the other major projects that I've been involved in over the last, well, there's too many years to mention, but the Jubilee line, it opened in stages. HS1 effectively opened in stages, once it was going to Waterloo, now to St Pancras. I would be staggered if Euston is scrapped, although at various times I've thought it might be. And I hope for Euston and its area that it certainly isn't scrapped, because it's got a hell of a mess right now. So I very much hope that Euston happens, even though I happen to think that it's the wrong station. That's just a personal opinion. I would have liked to have seen HS2 linked to HS1. Then you could have got on up north somewhere and gone to Europe or anywhere else without having to walk for 12 minutes. So for me, HS2 will go ahead. I'm as confident as I can be about it. I'd like to see it extended well beyond Crewe and up to Manchester and beyond. If we're really going to have the north and the south more equal, then without any doubt we need to, the governments need to prove that they mean those words. So for me, I believe HS2 will happen. I believe it will certainly, as the government's already proving, over a much, much longer period. I think it'll be interesting to see how much money is actually saved by what they're doing now. I have to be, I'm a forever an optimist, so I will remain optimistic that HS2 will be delivered, and my absolute belief is that Euston, I pray, will actually happen.
Thank you, Chris. That's a good tell. Can I just ask, how many in the room are working on HS2 at the moment? Will you show your hands, please? Okay. And if you put your hands up, how many is it affecting you at the moment, the lack of decisions on HS2? If you put your hands up, I'll take it as a yes if you keep it down. Right, okay, so yeah. It really is impacting us service business. I think it's not so much the smaller companies, but the sort of mid-sized companies, which the tier ones rely on, it's sort of crucifying us.
David, can I just...
Sure, yeah, go on.
I guess I should add as a tier, because we're a tier 2, so at the end of the day, HS2 have made it very, very clear they want tier 2s involved.
Yeah.
But in truth, with the package sizing that they've done, they've not exactly made that easy. I remember having a discussion with HS2, and there were others in this room that I remember being at that meeting where they made it really clear. This was back in probably 2019. They made it very clear that they wanted tier 2s bidding for the M&E work on the job, and yet they packaged it in a way and budgeted it 500 billion. Well, how the hell is a tier 2 going to be truly involved and bid that? Okay, we've suddenly we're lucky enough to have the opportunity to bid with very large companies, and we have done so. But it's incredibly expensive, This isn't just a plug for David, but for a relatively small company, medium-sized company in Emeco, to have to spend, 600, 700 grand in tendering, I mean, it's horrendous. And, and I just pray that we win. I'm confident we will, but at the end of the day, it's, I just like companies to truly understand what Tier 2s are, these big clients, because at the end of the day, we're not a bottomless pit of money, unlike not many companies are these days, but there are a lot of big civil companies and other technology companies out there that clearly they may be able to afford spending $1 million or $2 million on a bid, whereas for us, it's very, very difficult.
Thank you, Chris. Now, obviously, it's bad here, but Ireland's a different place entirely. Ireland is spending a lot of money. With the rail gathering pricing, the Foynes and Limerick link, the Cork Area Commuter Rail, the CARB network, both are underway. And then you've got the Dublin Metro, that's, I think the first part's been awarded to Atkins, the early works, and you've got the follow-on works. So I know that there's UK contractors and there's Irish contractors that both go for that. There's huge interest. All the people in the room here, BITA members, British and Irish Trade Links. Richard, how can BITA help with that supply chain? How can we bring added value to Ireland? And what's next to come in Ireland beyond the ones we've mentioned?
Yeah, so there is actually about 2 different pipelines of work coming through in Ireland at the moment. There's the committed pipeline, which you mentioned, Metrolink, the Foynes freight connection from Limerick to Foynes, but also Cork and Limerick suburban, and that involves electrification of the railways in and around Cork and Limerick. And in addition to that, we also have DART Plus expansion programme, which is taking the DART lines running north from Connolly Station up towards Drogheda, and then also the DART West, which is going out to Kilcock, with a new depot being built at Kilcock, fully electrified, and then Coastal, which is possibly the problem child, and that anybody who's familiar with the line between Bray and Greystones will know what a precipitous piece of engineering that is, and suspect that the Inland Air will have to spend a lot of money on that. So that's the currently committed pipeline, and that's including Metrolink, and that's really a piece of work going out over the next 20 years. But in addition to that, we've recently had the All-Ireland Rail Review and the Union Connectivity Review, which was headed up by Sir Peter Hendy, which both found that the railway network in both Northern Ireland and in the Republic were pretty inadequate. And I'll give you some context. There was an article in the Irish Independent this morning which said they spent more money on a new runway at Dublin Airport at €260 million than they did on capital investment in the Republic of Ireland's rail network. So how can BITA members help? Basically, there is a massive skills shortage in Ireland. There simply isn't enough people to actually even undertake the current pipeline, never mind the potential future pipeline coming down. So the classic one, I've worked in project controls in the railway industry for 30 years, and the big issue is always getting, as Simon will know, getting people who are linesmen in place. There's a big shortage of qualified linesmen, and getting engineers, civil engineers. So any way that we can look into those opportunities for the expanded railway, and it is going to be very significant. It's interesting actually that the expansion of the railway has got cross-political support, so we do a general election in the Republic next year. We're pretty confident whoever emerges on top will still look to actually put that very significant investment into the railway above and beyond where we're going. So there is a lot of work coming down the line. There simply isn't enough people to do that work, in my view.
Thank you. Paul, are we going to Ireland with this group of people? I think we should set that up. Obviously, with the skill shortage, many companies are looking at this. Is open to all of you now, but many companies are looking at AI to improve productivity, move things forward. There's some good stuff out there. There's ClickUp, Open Space, Procure, Wendy AI. It's fantastic when it does design, it does productivity, some really good tools out there. Does the panel agree that AI is a change for good? What particular attributes of AI interest them the most?
So wearing my project controls hat, if anybody's ever sat through a QSRA and tried to figure out the probability of risks occurring, a lot of it is down to the personal experience of the people sitting around that table. And one of the things that always comes up with a problem, in my personal view, is optimism bias. So in other words, if we think it's going to come on through a lot quicker. There are tools out there now. EFKB, who are one of the big contracts, it's basically a joint venture for HS2. They're using a tool called Nodes and Links, which is a project planning and risk assessment tool, and that uses historical project plan data in order to actually work out probabilities. So it removes some of that subjectivity from the assessment of risks. So I think as time goes on, we'll probably see in the project controls world, at least, which is where I'm sitting, a lot more reliance on AI to be able to fuel and inform decisions around project issues or anything like that.
Jeff, do you want to have a...
Yeah, sure. I think the railway is probably not as cutting edge as it needs to be. We're talking about ETCS signalling as though it's the newest thing on the block in many parts of Europe. We've been doing it for 20 years, and we're sort of just now pushing on. And I think we're always a bit slow with innovation. I'm going to come back to CP7 a little bit because that's where I've been spending my time. But there's a team in Network Rail called the RD&I team, so they look at research, development, and innovation. And they've secured around about 200 million of our budget for CP7, and AI features heavily in that. So I would say anyone who's got ideas, innovative ideas that they've used in other industries, we want to hear them. We don't know it all ourselves, but we've got the support from government to spend that money investing in the railway to make us more efficient.
So we've got another event for a bit of... Oh, there's two there. Right, that's great. Simon?
Well, I'm just going to add it from a personal point of view. So, who here has chatbot? It goes to show, doesn't it? There's a couple with hands up. My son convinced chatbot that it's stolen, that it was an Asda receptionist, and that he'd stolen some money from them. And the chatbot kind of reacted in a very human way. It was funny because it's not a real person. It made me look into it a bit more, downloading chatbot. And now I use some AI technology to create videos to educate people about not just safety issues, quality issues and things like that. And I'm able to just tell the AI what I want to create, upload a few images, and I'm able to do these sort of videos. So this is on the scale that we've been talking about. But I'm able to do them in an hour myself. I don't have to go to the comms team and spend £20,000. It's revolutionary, and I think we all need to get involved in it.
Absolutely. Chris?
Yeah. Well, there's quite a bit of AI really more in robotics being used in construction now, and that can only grow. I mean, if I go back to the Jubilee line or HS1, I mean, the concrete was drilled, for goodness sake. Every single fixing that was needed was drilled by hand. Nowadays, hopefully, no one would even think about it. It would be done with machines, and just program it, and it does it. And indeed, having visited this incredible place up in Leicester Way, there's so much going on in developing robots to put stuff on walls or anything and everything. They will do absolutely anything. So I'm absolutely full of confidence that AI will help the industry in lots and lots of ways going forward. I certainly don't want to say what we're doing on HS2 because it's still intended, but there's lots of things that it can definitely help, and it will help productivity. And from a personal point of view, I know that in the future I'll need a new knee, so I'm hoping that I can rely on AI to do that, rather than having to wait for a doctor to come back from being on strike. So anyway, that's just a process.
There's one more thing I should have said actually, which, on a serious point. So I look after standards, and hopefully some of you will know that we've created a new internal standards site for external suppliers. Instead of going to a supplier that supplies to us, the site. We built our own site on the data lake using Microsoft technology. We're saving £500,000 a year by doing it. The next phases will take us through into AI, where we want to create a standard site where the metadata can be drawn by AI and inform your design automatically. And it will flag up the things that you need to know automatically. I think that's a couple of years away, but we do have time for it.
Excellent. Look, thanks, guys. I really appreciate you coming up on the stage. Can we have a big round of applause for the panel?